Hey guys, here's 5 things that I wish I knew about compression when I first started mixing. I'm Reece from Spinlight Studio, stoked to be on the Kiive audio channel with you guys. Let's dive into it. So in its simplest form, compression is about controlling the dynamic range, taking those louds and softs and bringing them together into a smaller range that's easier to control. But in the big scheme of things, compression is way more complex than that and way more interesting than that because there's so many cool things that we can do with compression. So tip number 1 would be choosing the right compressor for the source that we're working on. I did a video very recently where we took a lot of Kiive audio compressors and compared the sonic characteristics that they impart upon a sound. And so from compressor to compressor, they all sound a little different. So if you have something like a vocal that needs a little bit of extra excitement, then you might want to reach for something like the Tube KC1, where it's going to add a little bit of extra saturation to the vocal and help it stand out in the mix.
So now we ride to the heart of the storm, shimmering silvery furnace. So now we ride to the heart of the storm, shimmering silvery furnace.
So you can hear it's adding a bit of extra excitement to the vocal. It's helping it cut through the mix. It's not just compressing the signal and reining in that dynamic range, it's also imparting a sonic characteristic to the sound. So choosing the right compressor for the source that you're working on is super important. Okay, tip number 2, using compression to shape a sound. So we can use compressors to add extra punch to a sound. We can have a slow attack and let that transient through, give it a little bit more smack, and then we can use our release time to create varying effects. We can have a really fast release to create a really pumping, aggressive sound, or we can give it a more gentle, glued sound with a slower release time. So it's crazy how much the attack and release times can shape a sound. Tip number 3, using compression in parallel. This means that you can take your dry original signal and then blend it with your compressed signal and find the best of both worlds. And most plugins these days have a mix knob included, so you can absolutely smash a sound with compression, roll that mix knob back and find the perfect blend. So for example, on our drums again, with a really fast attack and a really fast release, we absolutely smash and crush the drum sound, which probably isn't going to sound that great in the mix, but when we blend it with our dry signal, it adds a whole lot of extra body and sustain to the drum sound. So check this out. So you can hear it's really aggressive, really crunching the sound up with a lot of saturation. Maybe it's a little too much. What if we pull that mix knob back now and find that perfect blend? So that sounds really awesome to me. What I can hear is still the punch of the drum, but now there is more decay, there's more sustain. The drums bloom a lot more. The kick and the snare just have a bigger, longer sound to them. And this is going to make the drums just have way more life in the mix. So tip number 4, using the release knob as a way of bringing things forward or pushing them back in the mix. The faster the release, the more forward a sound is. It really lets everything jump up. All those soft, quiet sounds come right up really quickly and you can hear every detail. When you have a slow release, things get pushed down and they don't come back as fast. So it can create the effect of being a little bit softer sounding. So let's try this on the acoustic guitar. So you can hear with the fast release, you can hear every strike of the guitar, everything comes really forward, and the guitar starts to be what you focus on. When we have the slow release, the guitar gets kind of pushed back, sunk back, because the compression is not being allowed to come forward as fast. You don't hear every strum quite as loud and clear, and it has a gentler, softer sound about it. So understanding the power of the release knob and how it can make things sit forward or further back in the mix. And tip number 5, understanding the power of the sidechain filter. So for example, using some compression on your mix bus. If your mix has a bunch of low end information, even at small compression values, it can get a little grabby and pumpy sounding because the compressor reacts to the low end a lot quicker. Using the sidechain filter can help the compression to ignore some of those lower frequencies to help the low end breathe and not sound so clamped down upon. So you could hear without any sidechain filtering, the kick was really grabbing the compressor and you could hear it pumping. But as we lifted that sidechain filter up, the kick sounded a lot smoother and the mix started to breathe a lot better. So understanding the sidechain filter and when to apply it is a real game changer when using compression. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you want to try out the Tube KC1 for yourself, there'll be a link in the description below to Kiive Audio's website where you can go and test it out for yourself. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.